Yeah. All right, I'm starting the recording now and let's get underway. So first of all, I wanted to make just a quick notation. I am Tina Fernandez-Deckler. I'm the executive director at HERS Breast Cancer Foundation and a co-founder along with Lisa Stambaugh and Kathy Kimberlin of this Tri-City nonprofit coalition. How many months are we in now, Lisa, would you say? We're coming up on a year this summer, I guess, since our formation.
No, we're over a year.
We are?
Our launch was in the fall of 2020.
Yeah, well, I'm going to blame COVID on confusing my time frame of reference. I haven't had it yet, but you know, it's just like little COVID PTSD, I think. Okay, so we have been around for a little while and we are very, very fortunate to have these wonderful speakers join us tonight. Of course, we have Toby Miles. She's going to be talking about email marketing. And I think first we usually do just a round of just some very short introductions. I know that Toby has a lot of great things to share with us. I did want to just make a quick note that Kathy Kimberlin is not with us this evening, our third co-founder, only because she's, you know, her day job, as Lisa said a little bit ago, is she's the Tri-City liaison for Alameda County Supervisor David Hobart. It's District 1. And so she's in a meeting right now to discuss the Afghan resettlement. There are efforts for co-sponsorship to happen. So instead of like one individual having to co-sponsor a family or an individual, it can be more than one person. And you know, sharing that responsibility and you know, strength in numbers, I think, right? So this is a partnership with the International Rescue Committee. If you want to get updates about what Supervisor Hobart and his team are doing, I encourage you to sign up for their newsletter. So you can go to District 1, and that's the number 1.acgov.org /newsletters to sign up for that. I told Kathy I would mention it, and they're just doing great work. As you can imagine, I know, Toby, you're not in the state. The rest of us are. We're here in the Bay Area, and there's a lot of Afghan refugees coming into our community. It's been happening for a while, and it's going to continue, I'm sure. So, all right, let's get going. I'm just going to kind of go around my screen here clockwise. Linda, do you want to give a short introduction about who you are and the nonprofit you're with which you're involved?
Sure. My name is Linda Dulaney. I have been a Fremont resident for about 23 years now, and I am associated with Fremont Education Foundation and Seroptimus International of Fremont and various and sundry PTAs. I think I belong to 10 of them now. So,
oh my.
Yeah, well, you know, once you get that in you, you can't get it out. So,
right. Well,
and this group.
Thank you for joining us. Julie Gilson, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself and your Fremont Cultural Arts Council?
Sure. Julie Gilson. I'm the current president of the Fremont Cultural Arts Council, and we are a nonprofit in support of arts and artists in the city of Fremont. And we've been in existence for over 50 years. And we are working to advocate for more art in Fremont and for the artists.
Wonderful. Thank you, Julie. Mr. Nagy, welcome.
Yes, thank you. Al Nagy. I'm representing both the Viola Blythe Community Service Center tonight and also the Newark Library League.
Nice, nice. Welcome. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Yes.
Kate, come
Thank
on.
you for these forums.
Hi there. My name is Kate Amon, and I'm the president of the Christmas Club, which is the neighborhood nonprofit that puts on the annual neighborhood holiday display and fundraiser called Christmas Place. And I've been doing that for over 10 years now. Yeah. And hi, Tina. Hi, Lisa.
Hi. It's great to see you, Kate, and you'll be hearing from me soon. You just, of course, sent a very generous donation check to us. And
a much better year.
Oh my gosh, we were just completely blown away. So Christmas Place, in case, well, I think it's more for Toby's edification that I'm going to share this, but Christmas Place is a gorgeous holiday display. It's a neighborhood, multiple blocks. Most of the homes participate, most of the homeowners, and it's all these beautifully painted cutouts and lights. There's music and caroling. Typically, last year was postponed, I think, because of, or canceled because of COVID, and they brought it back this year. So visitors can drive through. There's a donation point. I've done it many years now. I've brought my kids as a visitor, and then as a nonprofit representative, I've gone out and handed out the candy canes and accepted donations. And it's just a beautiful event, a very spirited, and folks will give very generous checks in cash, and some people are giving the change from their cup holder because they drive through. It doesn't matter. It's just an amazing event, and very impactful. A lot of funds raised. So thanks, Kate, for all your hard work.
Oh, sure.
Carol Zilli, welcome.
Thank you. I'm the executive director and founder of Music for Minors 2, which is a nonprofit keeping music in the schools. And this is our 33rd year now. And we do this by recruiting and training community volunteers and supporting them. And they become music docents volunteering in school classroom 1/2 hour a week. And since COVID, of course, we've had to pivot to virtual, but we're sure hoping to get back in those classrooms because there's nothing like the in-person sharing of music where you can hear all the children, the harmonies and everything that we long for. But we just want to keep music alive. Children need it now more than any time, and so do their teachers. So we have a wonderful event being planned in May that I'll get to you, so you can put that on your website. It's our first ever talent show. It's called Music for Minors 2's Got Talent, and we'll share more with you later.
That's great. As Lisa has very cleverly designed our website. There's a form for everything. So there's a link on our website. If you look at the tabs, there's a drop down tab, and you can submit that as an event, and Lisa will put it on our event calendar. Thank you, Carol. Let's see, Tracy. Okay, maybe Tracy had to step away. We'll come back to her. Deepa, welcome.
Hi, everyone. My name is Deepa Chordia. I'm the Outreach Manager with Life Elder Care. We provide free services, support, and resources to help seniors age in their own homes. We've been around since 1975, started out only delivering Meals on Wheels in Fremont, and over the years we've expanded to add other critical services, and we now provide services to seniors throughout Alameda County. So yeah, we're always looking to connect with more seniors in need, and we are always in need of volunteers. So nice to join you all this evening.
Great. That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing, Deepa. Tracy?
Hi, good evening. So sorry, a little crazy today. I'm Tracy Sarge. I'm with Room Redux, Bay Area. We do room transformations for children that have faced physical or sexual abuse and trauma, as oftentimes the abuse and trauma happens in their own rooms. So we just happy to be here. Thank you guys for what you do, and happy to connect with anybody that we get referrals from CPS, from teachers, law enforcement. So please visit our website if you guys have any other questions or information needed.
Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Vera. Welcome.
Because sorry, I was late. I'm with the nonprofit Music for Minors 2, keeping music alive in our schools and in children's lives. I don't know what Carol said, but we are having MFM2's Got Talent showcase in May, so we're looking forward to that. So we'll be asking for your help in promoting that once we have the flyer ready.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
I know that so many, so is that going to be in person or virtual?
Virtual.
Okay, okay. We're looking forward to learning more about that. So yeah, be sure to submit it for our website. We'll put it on the calendar, or I should say Lisa will put it on the calendar. Okay, so we were hoping that Shirley Sisk would join us tonight. Typically with every meeting, we do a 5-minute featurette on a local nonprofit where someone on the team there and leadership can share in a little bit more detail what they do, what their current needs might be as far as maybe in-kind donations or something that they are working to fund, maybe a capital campaign. But I don't see Shirley that has been able to join us this evening, so we will just table that and hopefully be able to feature her next month for March. Okay, so, and if you just, I'm going to put in a plug. If you want to have your nonprofit featured, just reach out to Lisa. Is there a form for that on our website? Can someone ask to be a 5-minute featured nonprofit?
Of course, there's a form for everything.
There is. Wonderful. Well, that works for me. So yeah, if you have a beloved nonprofit, if you work for one, volunteer at one, please look at our website, TCNPC for Tri-City Nonprofit Coalition, tcnpc.org, chock full of great information. If you're, and look at our local nonprofit list. If your nonprofit is not on that page, at the very least, share that with us so that we can link to your website and get the word out about the great work that your nonprofit is doing. So I'm going to move on to introducing Toby. Toby, if there's anything I left out, just add it once I'm done talking. So just on behalf of Lisa and Kathy and myself and everybody here, just thank you for joining us tonight. Toby is a direct response copywriter, content marketer, and a self-described word geek. I love that. She has written copy across all industries, including jewelry, health, wellness coaching, nonprofit, and retail. We are so excited that she's here tonight to share her wisdom around email marketing. You can find out more about Toby's approach, style, and services on her website, Toby Miles. So that's spelled TOBYMYLES.com. You can find her on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. I think your handles are mostly Toby Miles Copywriting, right? On any of those platforms, if
Yes.
folks want to search Toby Miles Copywriting, you will find her. And I'm going to stop talking now and let you take over. I've made you a co-host, so if you want to share your screen.
Yes, I will. So thank you, Tina, and thank you, Lisa, for inviting me to come and speak to the group. And I have a brief slide presentation, and then I would like to leave plenty of time for questions, because not every approach is right for every organization. Everyone has different budgets, different tools, different size staff. And so I've given kind of a general approach based on my experience, but I definitely want to be here to help and maybe answer any questions or troubleshoot anything that you have going on. So I am going to, let's see, share my screen first. And find my slides. And just a quick check, can everybody see slides at this point? Okay, perfect. So I'm Toby, copywriter, content marketer, and word geek. And I love email marketing. And I know that's,
Yeah,
Debbie, can I interrupt? We're not seeing slides.
we're seeing your Gmail. Yeah.
uh-oh. Let's see.
Might be easier to just share the entire screen that has it than one application.
Let me try something here. Two screens open, that might be. Can you see slides there or no? Yes.
It-
It's very weird. I don't know why.
Now we see slides now.
Yeah, it looks like you're sharing it from maybe Canva.
Yes, I am.
Whoever has done your photography, by the way, awesome. Your head,
Oh,
yeah, your head.
thank you. She's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I need to, I've, as Lisa knows, I've gone through a hair color change and I need to update my photos.
Yes, yeah.
They're great.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate you saying that. It was I realized after a year of having a website that I really need my website to have a whole new look, and I started with the branding photography and then just built the website around that. So can you see my slides now? Okay, let's try this again. I'm Toby, we've already discussed that, and I love email marketing. And so as a copywriter, it's my job to persuade people to do a number of things, either to sign up for something, to donate money, to volunteer for something, to join an organization. And the way that I do that through persuasive copywriting is to research who my audience is, collect data, and to find out what it is that matters to them. And by doing that, I take them along a brand journey. And by the time I'm to the point where I'm ready to ask them to do something, they have already bought into that brand journey. And so it's a multiple step process of getting to know someone. I always say email is a long game. It's not something that you do where you just hop into someone's inbox and expect them to start sending money or joining or anything overnight. It's definitely something that you do over weeks, months, even years. And at the end, I'll share a story, a success story of one of my clients. So just another brief little bit on my background. I did spend 15 years in direct response marketing, and I worked primarily with nonprofit organizations managing very large scale direct mail campaigns and email marketing campaigns. And the biggest takeaway that I can summarize from that is to know who you're speaking to, know who your audience is, and when you craft your messaging, speak to that one person. Imagine who that one person is, that one ideal client, donor, member, whatever title you give them, and craft your messaging to that one specific person, and you will have a loyal donor for life. So before we move on to the email portion, I did want to just touch on direct mail, because I do believe that the strongest program that you can have will implement both direct mail and email. However, nowadays, with the USPS rates skyrocketing, things costing a lot of money, it's difficult for a lot of smaller organizations to have a direct mail program. If you can do it, it's still the biggest donation driver in the nonprofit space. It's fairly easy to implement. And if you imagine, things are kind of flipped now. You know, back in the day, our mailboxes were filled with junk mail, and now it's kind of flipped. You know, now our email inboxes are filled with not necessarily junk mail, but you know, we get bombarded with things. So email fundraising there's a low cost to implement. It's easy to implement, and there's greater potential over direct mail for engagement because people can respond pretty immediately. At the heart of everything you do, remember, your audience is asking, what's in it for me? And I love this little acronym, WIIFM. In fact, I have a sticky note on my computer to remind myself when I'm writing to stop and check myself. You know, am I writing something that I feel like writing because I think it sounds good, or am I really trying to get into the head of the person that I'm writing to? And so this is my grandson, Isaac. And if you said to me, just talk about whatever you want to talk about, I'd say, okay, let's talk about Isaac. He's so cute, right? But that's not why you guys came. And so I'm thinking, everybody here wants to know, well, what's in it for me? Well, it's not Isaac, even though he's super cute, I think. So always be thinking, what's in it for me from the perspective of your donor. So I like to think of email marketing programs in a three-part framework, and it's not necessarily linear. In fact, it's not linear at all. It's kind of an ongoing program where you're bouncing back and forth between all of these parts. But in the way that I like to think of it, you're collecting emails, you're collecting data on the people who sign up for your list, you're nurturing those people, you're telling stories to bring them along on your journey of your organization, you know, what you stand for. And then the third part of that is continuing to grow your list, grow your donor base, grow your funds, and everything that I'm going to talk about in the next few slides, how you kind of go through each one of these phases and then back to the beginning again. So first, let's talk about collect, building your list. There are lots of different ways to build your list. The number one way is to have a sign-up form on your website. And it doesn't have to be just in one place. It can be in multiple places. It can be on your homepage. It can be in the header. It can be in the footer. It can be on your about page where you talk about your mission. You can add it to blog posts. You can put it on social media if you're posting on social media. You can use a pop-up form or a landing page, and a lot of people find those annoying. I personally actually find them annoying, but they actually do work. I've had different websites for different of my businesses, and the pop-up form definitely works. People see it, and when you can X out of it, you know, when it pops up, make sure that whoever comes to your website can X out of it if they just say, I just want to read what you're doing. I don't want to sign up for anything yet. And then in your sign up form, make sure that you use language that is intriguing and focused on the donor. So instead of just sign up for my newsletter, which is kind of like, you know, who really needs another newsletter? Use language that is maybe a little bit more enticing, like don't miss an event, stay involved. I'm ready to donate. I want to help make a difference, things like that. So I have an example here, actually from one of my previous clients, UNCF, and they raise funds for scholarships for HBCU students. And when you go to their website, it's not exactly a pop-up. It's almost like the first thing you come to is this landing page. So this entire blue box takes up the entire page. I don't know if you can see, but up in the right-hand corner, there is a little X. So you can X out of it and just go to the main homepage of their website. But the language here is really in line with what they do in raising money for scholarships for students who need. And so they kind of clearly state what their mission is. And then at the bottom, it says, I'm ready. So other ways to collect emails and build your list are you can put together free guides and manuals that you offer as downloads for people to get on your list. And these can be positioned in places on your website that can be part of a pop-up. You can have a little something in the header bar that says, you know, download our, like this one for Audubon, download our free advocacy manual. You can host webinars and live events and collect emails when people come to sign up for those things. You can host educational workshops. You can do surveys and quizzes to find out more about your potential donors. I would say that I know that a lot of people nowadays are very cautious about personal information that they give out, but wherever possible, you want to find out as much as you can, because knowing as much as you can about your donor is going to help you to craft your messaging and segment your list so that you can speak specifically to different segments of your audience in a way that resonates with them. So now you've collected your emails and you're continuing to collect your emails through all of these different channels. And the next step is to start forming connections. And the very initial thing that you should have when someone signs up for your list is some type of welcome or onboarding sequence. If you offered a free guide or a free download for joining or for signing up, make sure that you give that to them in the very first email. And then through the course of 4 to 7 emails, you want to talk about your mission, your purpose. Again, if you offered some sort of gift, or if there's some gifts that they're going to get in the mail, you can restate that. And really think of the purpose of the welcome sequence as like the way you would welcome someone into your home. Come on in, have a drink, sit down, let's, tell me what's going on in your life. And, that just initial kind of like, let's get to know each other phase, and making them feel welcome and at home there. The other way you continue to form connections are by monthly newsletters, which are not really asking for anything necessarily. They're more what's going on in the organization, what events are coming up, what are some of the accomplishments, what are some member spotlights, highlight a member that's participating and doing really amazing things, any events that you have going on. And then fundraising drives are pretty self-explanatory, although instead of asking, doing a hard ask, asking for money, weave in stories of the people that you're helping. Tell a story about, like in the case of UNCF, when I worked for them, we told stories about the students that we were able to help through scholarships, who a lot of them would get to their senior year in college and had something devastating happen. Hurricane Katrina, a parent lost a job, things like that, and how the scholarships were able to allow them to finish school and go beyond to graduate school. So those stories really connected our donors to the purpose of the organization, made them feel like they were really making a difference. And then anytime a donor makes a donation or participates in an activity, they should receive a thank you. So in addition to the welcome sequences and the email automations, I'm circling back to what I said before about collecting as much data as you can about your donors. By doing this, it allows you to segment your data so that you can give the right messaging to the right segments. So for example, if you hosted an event, you can send another email to the people that attended the first event and said, the email can say, hey, thanks for participating. We're last fall, you came to the big gala and we raised, $2 million. And this Christmas, we're doing something similar and we would love it if you would come again. So that is very much more specific as opposed to just a general email to your entire list. Sending thank you emails that are relevant and personal, and following up with donors to show them how something that maybe they participated in made a difference in someone else's life. I think I saw a statistic, I think it was 78%. So people are 78% more likely to make a donation when the messaging is targeted as opposed to general emails to the group as a whole. And then the grow phase. So growing is all about tracking your results. And if you like to kind of geek out on behind the scenes analytics and dig into your email program and look at open rates, click-through rates, and donations and unsubscribes, all of those things are going to help direct what you do going forward. So growing your donor base, increasing donations, improving on your response rates. The only way to know how to grow and do better is to see what's going on, see what's happening, see if an email gets a really high percentage open rate, keep track of what the subject line was and keep that in a database so that you can repeat that going forward for another campaign. So we track the results, we measure the results, and then we do a course correction, or we stay the course. If something's working, we keep going with that. And part of growing is testing, always be testing. So depending on the size of your database, that will determine how much testing you can do each time you send out an email, but you want to improve on what's working. And testing is key for making sure that your messaging stays fresh and that you continue to grow. So you use your data to identify what's working and what's not, and you always try to improve on it. So if you have a regular ask email, for lack of a better term, and people are constantly opening it and they're giving donations, then that becomes your control. You look at the results, and then you can split off a segment of your database. You know, let's say you have 100,000 people on your list. You can split off 10 or 20,000 people, put them in a test group, and send them a different type of messaging and measure that and compare it to your control messaging. And some tests you need to test multiple ways. If a test does really well, you might say, well, was there an outlier? Was there something in there that I'm not seeing that made it perform really well? So you might test it again with a bigger audience of 20% or 20,000. And if it still does well, now you might have just chosen your new control messaging and you do away with the original one. So you're always verifying the data, you're always reviewing it, verifying it, and testing. And it's kind of a balancing act. I tell my clients a lot, you know, when we have strategy calls and we come up with ideas, and we think, wow, that's a really great idea. Should we try it? I always say, let's test it, you know, let's see what happens. I mean, it's not going to be the end of the world, right? We give it a try, we see what the response rate is. And if it does well, then we keep it, or you know, it does potentially well, maybe we tweak a few words and then we repeat it. And if it doesn't do well at all, it totally tanks, then we move on. And so the only way really to know about some of these things is to test. When I worked in direct response marketing, every time we went out, either in the mail or an email, we were testing something different. So I'm sure you've seen these campaigns that you get that have like multiple different dollar amounts that you can give. And we would test things like that. We would tweak those numbers, even just the tiniest little bit, to see if we can bump up the gift amount, you know, from $20 to $25 or something like that. We would change one tiny little color, or we would change one font, or we would move things around, and we would test something on the outside of an envelope. So it's an ongoing thing. And I will tell you, and I'm not embarrassed to admit this, but when I got into direct response marketing, all I thought about was junk mail. I thought, this is just junk mail. You know, this is like what people, you know, joke about all the time. But over the 15 years in that industry, I learned how much is science-based and database. It's not just throwing spaghetti at a wall. It's not just crowding people's mailbox. There's a lot of science behind these packages that go out in the mail. And that's the end of my slide presentation. I will So we can stop and share. And I didn't go too fast. I'm happy to answer any questions.
I have a lot of questions.
Oh my gosh, okay.
Okay, so let's start with the first question is your opinion or recommendation on the different tools. So like Constant Contact versus MailChimp versus ActiveCampaign, like how do we know which one is the best tool for us? Price, feature, like how do you decide that?
I think that price is definitely a component because each one you'll pay depending on the number of people on your list. So you kind of have to weigh that, you know, what is your budget? Can you afford, you know, $30 a month, $50 a month? As your audience grows, you're going to pay more. And each one of those programs has a different cutoff point. So I don't necessarily think one is better than the other. I think they all have basic features, and then some of them have really robust features. So if you're really looking for something where you can do a lot of segmenting, I think things like Klaviyo and ConvertKit are good ones. A lot of they're basic if you just want to, you know, do really basic things, but there's a lot of features in terms of segmenting, A/B testing, and things like that.
Can I ask another one? I mean, if other people have questions. Go ahead. Okay, so one other question. You were talking about like measuring open rates and unsubscribe. How do we find out what is a good number? Is there somebody who has published statistics that said on the average, if you get X percent, you're doing well? Or like, how do we know?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I just, as I was putting together the slides, I was trying to see if I could find like some recent statistics, especially for like nonprofits. And I'm drawing a blank on exactly what it is, but what I would say is that I see with my clients, I see anywhere from like 20% open rates on up to like 50 and 60, and a lot of fluctuations in between. And so when we see a lot of fluctuations, what we try to do is we try to figure out why. You know, was it the day that the email was sent? Was it the time of day that the email was sent? Was it the subject line? Was it the preview text? Was it, it could be any number of things. So what I would say is start where you are, start recording and try to improve. So I have a really small list. Like, I'm not even gonna tell you how small it is because it's really small. But I know the people on my list are there for a reason, because they want to hear from me and they want to get good ideas for generated content. And so I have like 50% and above open rate. Now, one of these days, that's probably not going to be the case. You know, I'm going to grow my list, and there's going to be people that are on there that just got on the list because I was giving them, you know, some free download, and they don't really care what I have to say. But mine are consistently 50% and above. So half to a little bit more than half. But I would say the majority of my clients are anywhere from 25 to 40-ish%.
That sounds about right, where my nonprofit's response rate or open rate is, and the click-through rate, I would have to look back. We use Constant Contact. My nonprofit, when I first started 4 years ago, we had a board member who is a PR person, and she wrote our email newsletter. Thank God I knew how Constant Contact worked, because she wasn't able to continue doing it within a short amount of time. So I took it over. And also, Lisa knows this, for our local Rotary Club, I write our monthly newsletter as well. So we use Constant Contact for that, for both. I know that the back end analytics, you know, for a nonprofit, I can compare it to, are we within that range of opens, which is is helpful. I mean, it's just general nonprofit, so it doesn't say, are you in health, are you in, you know, are you animal welfare or whatever. I'm just curious, what platform do you use personally for your newsletter?
So I actually, for my business, I'm still on MailChimp.
Okay.
And it's primarily because when I built my website, I was already set up on MailChimp, and it was just easy. It was like, let's just get this linked up and connected. I'm in the process of moving over to ConvertKit because I feel like they have, it's a little bit more robust. There are a few more features with landing pages and things like that. Now, who knows when that's going to happen? I mean, these things, like, as we know, it's a great idea, but in reality, finding the time to make it happen, I'm not really sure. But I really don't have an issue right now with MailChimp. It does what I need it to do for now. And I'm not to the point where I'm just frustrated. I don't feel like I have outgrown it. And so I feel like that can be an indicator too, is if there are things you're wanting to do that your platform doesn't do, then it might be time to switch. But I don't usually recommend people switching just to switch just for no reason. Quite a few of my clients are using Constant Contact. I mean, it was one of the early, there was a time where, like, if you wanted to send emails, like, that was pretty much it, was Constant Contact. And so I would not say, like, there's a reason for you to switch unless it doesn't have some capabilities that you want.
Right. Yeah, I think at this point I've got so much on my plate, and I know the platform and can put it together. It's yeah, I'm just always thinking of okay, I guess here's another thing. What I want to ask is like, what's your number one, like, do right now? What are you seeing that's, like, resonating with your clients readership? And then what's, like, a big, like, no? One thing I read recently is, like, putting emojis in your subject line is just, like, don't overdo it. Like, put I don't know, put one avocado emoji or whatever. So,
Right. Yes. Yeah. So I think it's okay to have emojis that make sense, because if someone's skimming through the main, they open up their email and they're kind of skimming through, like, that does make some things jump out. I think, like, it can be kind of obnoxious too if you really, like, overdo it, right? So so I would say one is fine. In the subject line, as opposed to, like, the preview text below it, in the subject line, you want to keep it fairly short. It's great to ask a question. It's great to be a little bit vague to get somebody to be like, oh, I wonder what this is about. Let me open it up. It's great to have some urgency. If you have an event and the registration is expiring, it's great to say hurry, or don't miss this, or, this is your last chance. Things like that are gonna make someone go, oh yeah, I remember now, I need to do that. The preview text line, what you want to write enough text there so that, again, when someone's scanning through their whole list of emails, they can actually read something that's going to give them some clue of what's inside the email. I would say don't ever leave that blank, because you get some weird little characters in there sometimes. And then in the body of the email, I mean, I'm a huge fan of storytelling in all aspects of marketing. Just relaying stories of real people in a way that is going to get your audience to connect, to feel something, to understand why they should care about what you're doing. Why should they care about your mission, your organization? What is going to, like, really hit them in the heart and pull at their heartstrings and make them say, yeah, I want to give, or I want to volunteer, or I want to go to this event, or I want to meet these people, like, all those things. And that can be done through storytelling. It can be done through visuals like videos, things like that. You can pop a video into an email. I wouldn't do it like all the time, but maybe from time to time, a video of an event or a video message from, someone pretty high up in the organization, things like that.
Okay. Tracy.
When you were talking about thank yous, what is your feeling if you're thanking a donor as an email thank you versus a snail mail type of thank you?
So, to be honest, I think it's what feels right to you, because email can feel impersonal. And, when you were talking about your organization, I feel like it's a very kind of serious sort of topic. Do you know what I mean? And so I think it could warrant, unless it's like really difficult for you to do, I think it could warrant a snail mail package. I know that in a lot of the organizations that I worked with, we treated what we called high dollar donors differently than other donors. And that just depended on the organization. So it could be anybody from, who gave $1 up to $4,999 was in the overall, donor base. But anyone $5,000 and above would get what we called a white glove treatment. And so, again, depending on how much they gave over the course of the year, it could be they would get something different in the mail. They would get, instead of a regular number 10 envelope, they would get a 9x12 that was heavier paper, and there would be like a hand signed letter in it on really nice stationery. And for some donors, they would actually get a phone call from somebody in the organization who was in charge of donor relations to personally thank them. And so I think that's fine too. I would say those are things that you kind of have to use your intuition about what feels right to do. I don't think there's a right or a wrong way to do it, but I definitely feel like if you feel compelled to reach out on a more personal level, then I would definitely do that. I don't think that's ever going to be wrong. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I mean, sometimes it just varies too, depending on the information. Like you said, like the information we have available, whether it's an email address or a, home address or whatever. So, okay. Thank you.
I just wanted to say my experience has been here in this area that donors want a hard copy letter, and I sign it. I'll write a greeting and a note. Sometimes they donate, like I'm seeing this more and more on PayPal, where I just have their email address, unfortunately. And if they're not already in our system, then it's like, then what? Every now and then, if they have an unusual name, I do a little sleuthing and I try to find them online, and then I can send. If that doesn't work though, I do a hard copy letter, sign it, scan it, email that to them and say, I would love to get this hard copy letter to you. Want it, send your address. Because my fear is that when I just email, it could very well, especially if it's a newer donor or brand new donor,
get it.
It's going to end up in their spam.
Yeah. I mean, I did make up, I made up postcards that are kind of a general, but then I save space on the back and I write a note. And I'm the same way, I do it, especially when people, when they're initial donations or donors, I do that. But sometimes we get in-kind donations for our room. So we'll get, 20 donations for one room, and it could be a pillow or whatever, a blanket. And so in that case, I usually respond with an email. Or a bunch of bags of pillows.
A postcard.
Where's my postcard, Tracy?
I know.
Exactly. Hey. Lisa's a donor.
It's right there on my shelf, actually.
There it is. The outgoing mailbox. So we're coming up here on an hour. I have another question. I don't want to be obnoxious about asking questions, but may I? Is everyone okay? So the
fine with me.
A/B testing, I still don't quite get that concept. Can you explain? Does everyone know what that is? If you have MailChimp or on Constant Contact, that's an option. And I don't know.
Yeah, it is literally just testing two different messages to your audience and then measuring the results. And so, you know, the easiest way to think about it is this is very, very basic, but half your list would get message A, half your list would get message B, and then you would collect your responses and see which one performed better.
Okay, so it could be a tweaked copy in the email, one group and then one group. So your clients that do that, how do they do it? Do they just kind of split their list in half? Are they segmenting and doing it? I mean,
it really depends. It depends on what you know about your list. You know, if you don't have a lot of details about your list, you just kind of have to do a random, what we call nth. You know, it's not like you would take the top half gets one and the bottom half gets the other. There's a way that you can nth your list so that it's very random who ends up in which category, right? But if you have a large list and you have a lot of information about them, you can decide that we think this message really is going to resonate better with this segment, but we think something a little bit different might resonate with this segment. And it could be age-based, it could be interest-based, it could be when was the last time they gave a donation. You know, if you have people that are regular donors, they message A, but if you have somebody that hasn't given in a year, they might get a different message to kind of get them back into regular donation.
Okay. I need to explore that more. It's all about time and making the time to do that. My other question, or Lisa, go ahead.
So I have a question about lead magnets. So, I don't know if everybody knows the term. That's where you go on somebody's website and you put in your email for a free download, a checklist, a template, a spreadsheet of something, and then they get your email and you're on their list. Like what, for businesses, it's easy to have a lead magnet, right? It's something about what you do. I can do checklists all day long about web design and writing.
Right.
What makes good lead magnets for nonprofits?
Question.
Yeah, you can do like a simple ways to give. You know, it could be like one simple PDF. Are you planning your estate? Like these are ways that you can, you know, direct your estate. You know, again, a one-page PDF. You can do something educational about whatever your cause is. You can do, I'm trying to think.
It seems like it would be more challenging to me because a lot of times we want to support a nonprofit because we want to contribute to them helping whoever they help, but there's nothing for us. And so like, if I want to support Tracy in her work with, you know, redoing children's bedrooms, I don't need a kid's bedroom redone. I don't even have kids at home, right? So like, what is the thing that would make me want to download, you know,
to give up your, give up your email. Yeah. I mean, it can be challenging. I would say, you know, it's, again, going back to, you know, what is gonna like kind of sort of hit you in the heart. Like off the top of my head, I'm not thinking of anything specific. But you know, maybe it's I don't know. I'm just trying to think, you know, depending on the organization, you know, maybe it's something, some little booklet that then you could like print off and give to your grandkid, you know, a little coloring book, or you know, depending on the organization, maybe it's like a wellness guide, you know. If you're an environmental group, maybe it's ways to recycle, ways to start a recycling program in your neighborhood, or in your office, something along those lines. I know I'm kind of like all over the place with topics, but something that's related and relevant, but also useful. And it does, and I feel like, you know, even like a one-page PDF sometimes is just enough. Like most people are not, I think they kind of already need to have some interest in your organization to some extent, you know. there's probably not like a whole lot that you could put out there that someone would say, oh my gosh, I just have to have that, and I'm willing to give up my email address. It might be just something to push them over the edge a little bit.
It could be maybe like for Tracy, maybe signing a note of support. You could have like a few different notes, a template, and then the person signing on could just sign it, and you could say that it will be given to the next child whose room you redo, and it's
Yeah.
a note of support from them to stay safe, and we wish. I'm trying to pull something out of the air, but yeah, I get it. So for us, we do have a retail store where we see patients, so we could offer like 10% off if they come in and want to purchase something, right?
Mm-hmm. I got something not too long ago that was it was a print of a watercolor that you have to have a printer, to do that, but it was a print of a watercolor that I could print on my home printer and hang it on my wall. It was actually really beautiful. So something like that, for Tracy, maybe the lead magnet is that as the donor, you would, in addition to whatever you're donating, here's a downloadable coloring book that could go to the recipient of the room too. Something that you would have for yourself, but it would be an additional gift to the person that was receiving the the new room, something like that.
Yeah, I was even thinking of something for that. I mean, both ends of the spectrum, but you could do one if it's for people that want information on what to look for in cases of abuse, or how do you spot, what are the signs, things like that, kind of a booklet. But the other thing would be in the redesigning, organizational tips, or a booklet we have a designer that's on our advisory board. So maybe they could put together like a booklet on organizational tips and tricks, or, stuff for your home or something like that. It's relatable.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I was thinking too, because you were talking initially about, the Afghan community, are there things that would help them transition? What educationally, what are things that we might not know or understand about their culture that would help to make that transition easier, and having them in our homes and making them feel welcome, similar to what like our military does when they go elsewhere. They learn things about their culture, sharing a cup of tea, like those things are like really ingrained in their culture. So, maybe a guide that just says, how do we make this transition easier for everybody? Again, it could be like a one-page PDF of a bunch of different ideas.
I was just thinking, if we had a donor that we use the funds to purchase musical instruments, like for our resource centers, we could have a little plate on that item exactly saying donated by, because we've purchased drums, or we've purchased other instruments, xylophones and so forth. That might be good too.
Yeah.
Yeah. You really have given me, I know personally now, I mean, it's all about creative thinking, isn't it? It's just, you know your organization, and then you just try to just throw out ideas, brainstorm,
yes,
and have fun with that, and something might come up. Something usually does come up when
something usually does,
Yes.
Brainstorming, the process of brainstorming is exactly like what you just said. Like, you don't know what's going to come up. So you just, just get it all out, just do the brain dump. A lot of the ideas you'll never go back to, but I always feel like sometimes there's like a clog in the brain, and you got to get rid of like the really lousy ideas before you can get to the really juicy ones.
I just want to say thanks too for letting us know about the open rates, because honestly, we thought we weren't doing well. And then when I heard you give the numbers, I was like, oh, okay, we're not doing so bad. So I felt good about it. It made me feel better. So thank you for that.
I do try to remind myself too. I think, why aren't more people opening this? I mean, I think of all the newsletters I've signed up for, honestly. And I just go through my box, and I'm just clicking, and I don't even open them, and it's so easy to do. So, But this has been a great reminder tonight, Toby, about speaking to your audience and just really, I like that what's in it for me. I'm probably going to write that on a Post-it and put that on my computer.
Yes.
Just keep that as a reminder. It's like, am I writing because I like this is sounding clever and
Yes.
like I'm feeling like kind of it's about me and you know, no, it's got to be about getting the message out, always getting that message out, making the recipient having it resonate with them, right?
Yes, for sure.
Well, and you know, so I have a newsletter that goes to my mailing list, and I'm not a nonprofit. I mean, I may not be making a profit, but nonetheless, a lot of what you said tonight was very useful for businesses as well.
Mhm.
And so I'll remember that when I write my newsletter tomorrow. I just wanted to mention, if people didn't see it, Vera posted in the chat that they give away a PDF of 20 ways you can make music with your children, which sounds like a great.
That's
event.
perfect.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's the one.
That's
Really,
great. I
really
love that.
with your mission. So we're a little bit over time. So should we wrap it up, Tina?
Yep, I think we should. So many thanks, Toby, for joining us and
You're welcome.
everybody that was able to do this. As Lisa shared earlier, as we do every month, this will be edited, this recording, and uploaded to our website, tcnpc.org. So please do share that. We'll be sharing the link to on, right now, we're just on Facebook. Our next month's meeting will take place, hold on, Wednesday, March 9th, speaker and topic to be announced soon. We do a drawing every month. Lisa, can you share your screen? And this is a little fun thing that we do.
Okay.
We give away a prize. Everyone's name is on that little wheel. Spin away.
Are we ready?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Al.
Ow. So I think it's my turn. The three of us take turns with our giveaways. So I'll be sending you, I know I have your address. I'll send you a gift card of some sort. So that'll be arriving in the mail. I'll mail it, I don't know, by Friday. I promise. Yeah. So enjoy that. You'll get that in the mail. Get the word out, please, that we do these meetings every month, always the second Wednesday. For now, it's Zoom, always at 6. And we're just happy that you joined us. And again, Toby, thank you so much for sharing your expertise tonight. And you have an adorable grand too.
Yeah, your grandson was really cute. But for the people that don't know, and the reason we have a speaker like from all the way across the country is because Toby and I are in a Facebook group that's like women entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, and I had posted, we're looking for speakers, useful stuff for our nonprofits, and she stepped up, volunteered to do that. So I was really, really happy that she was willing to volunteer to do that, especially because it's now 10 o'clock where she time for bed. We're all up to dinner.
I sent my husband to bed. I was like, no, you can't. My office is in a loft, and so he's normally down there. I was like, you can't watch TV because I'm going to be on a meeting. So I think I sent him to bed. So
yeah.
You look too young to be a grandma.
oh, thanks. I am not, but thank you.
all the more reason to thank you is the time difference. I mean, this is the second time now, Lisa, you've recruited someone amazing. Last month it was Kristen. Yeah, and she was in New York. So yeah, we're doubly grateful. So thank you, Toby, and we'll stay in touch. I'm going to go sign up for your newsletter.
Great.
I'm going to
thank you for having me again, Lisa. Thank you for the invitation. And
all right,
thank you so much, everybody.
All right,
next month. Bye.
Thanks, Toby. Good night, everyone.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. Good night.
Lisa, I know usually you and I hang out a little bit. Bye, Al. But I know you've got dinner waiting and Mike's waiting. So I will talk to you, I'm sure, tomorrow. Okay, bye.
Wait, stay on.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so my sister texted me that she's picking up my mom at the hospital and taking her back to the apartment. So
thank God.
I don't know. She's had these episodes before where her blood pressure goes really high, and she has a blood pressure thing at home, and so it gets she feels, something,
Yeah.
and so she does it, and then it's high, and then she stresses out, and then she keeps taking it, and it's still high. And eventually she calls the nurse at the terraces, and the nurse comes and takes her blood pressure, and it's high, and they call an ambulance.
Yeah.
This has happened multiple times. And so Sharon texted me that she was going to pick her up and take her home. So I don't know that they are going to ever figure out why this happens.
Yeah.
What they can do about it, who knows?
And they've done studies, and I imagine, I mean,
They've done tests, and they take her medication. She's 87.
Yeah.
And
Still on. Yeah. I don't mean to do my dinner. My dinner is on the counter. Craig just handed me a note. I'm glad
Yes,
to hear about your mom. And I'm so glad. I really am glad. My fear would be like a stroke,
my mother, it's been now 4 years. 4 years ago, she was at home getting dressed one morning. She passed out. She woke up, called 911, unlocked the front door, and went to lay down. And they did come and get her, and she needed a pacemaker. Like, her heart had gotten so low. So that was when we said, look, you can't, you stay here. We've got to move you somewhere, right? Where people can rely on you.
Yeah.
But yeah, you don't know. I mean, she's in her apartment, and she has a call button and all that. But yes, if she has a stroke or she passes out or whatever, who knows, right?
Yeah.
So
Thank
it
God.
is what it is.
Thank God.
It
All right.
is.
We've been recording this.